Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to another Modern Horizons 2 draft. Now, we got a few options here. There is... I don't think I can make Glimpse of Tomorrow work in Limited. I really don't. If I wanted to draft an archetype that I was confident would not be taken out of this pack, I would take the Mouser here. I kind of want to try drafting the Storm archetype, which is red-green. I could also make another stab at the squirrels, but every time I've done that, it's gone horribly. But it is tempting. Let's try the squirrels. We've not yet made it work. Let's try it. Arcus Acolyte. This is a really strong reason to go into Selesnya, because if we can get, Bannerhide Crew Shocks and stuff, that's probably what we should be doing. There's a Draykeeper, but Draykeeper is a common. And between... Selesnya, we could even splash Draykeeper if we got up high enough. Yeah, I'm going to take the Arcus Acolyte just because it seems a lot stronger. If that's the case, I'm going to take this Dusk Shellcrawler. Abiding Grace potentially gives us huge value. I don't know that I'm actually going to be playing white. I might just be splashing for this Acolyte. Yeah, I'm going to take the Dusk Shellcrawler because it's got the most synergy with what's going on. Okay, I really like the Crew Shock. I think this card is almost critical for enabling any 1/1 counter plan, because it's a way to stick 1/1 counters on anything multiple times if you don't play it as just a 4-mana 4/4 trample, which is a great rate anyway. I think the pick here is very clearly Ren's Run Hydra. The same reason as Bannerhide Crew Shock. It's either a big 1/1 countery threat, or we put a bunch of 1/1 counters on other things. There's a Draykeeper. There's also an Urban Daggertooth. The repeatable Proliferate seems really strong with all the stuff we've got going on. Scrappling can put 2 1/1 counters on Ravenous Squirrel, though I expect we'll see more Scrapplings than just that one. I think I'm going to take the Daggertooth just because of the synergy with other stuff we've got going on right now. Alright, in this pack there's a Sterling Grove, Break Ties, Deepwood Denizen. And I think while the Selesnya deck has an enchantment sub-theme, I think it's mostly in the rares. Like, you have to have Sithis and Sterling Grove, and then a bunch of Captured by Legox and stuff like that to make that work. So if that's not like your rare and you get past that rare, I don't think you can actually play that deck. Now, I don't have any 3-drops, so Deepwood Denizen is actually quite tempting, because Deepwood Denizen can attack and then draw us cards after the fact. Break Ties is an effect that I do want, but I think I've got to go with the creature. Alright, there's a Crack Open, which kind of fills the roles of Break Ties. I think in the Selesnya deck, the white version is still better. Although the treasure here gives us and I mean the white version of Naturalize. The treasure here gives us a bit of fixing if we do end up playing a Draykeeper, and if we sack the treasure, the squirrel gets bigger. So, we'll take Crack Open. I don't think we're going to have enough tokens for Glimmer Baron to actually function. I guess it's possible. I mean, I'm not taking Glimpse of Tomorrow. I'm probably not playing Echoing Return. Lens Flare is technically playable in this list, and I guess it might be more playable than Glimmer Baron, even if it is expensive removal. Alright. I'm definitely taking Blacksmith Skill. I think having a 1-of in any white deck in this format is the way to go. It's such a strong combat trick. I'll take a second Lens Flare. I mean, I could play any and/or all of these cards, depending on what other cards I get. Sanctuary Raptor is also technically playable. I think more than Nested Shambler would be. So I think the only problem that I've seen with the red-white and green-white decks in this format is that you have to kind of assemble a critical mass of creatures. Like, if your opponent's playing red-black, or they're playing any other removal-heavy color combination, then you're going to... I don't know if I take Marble Gargoyle. I mean, I guess it's technically an artifact for Lens Flare, but so is Fodder Tosser. I think I'd rather have a Fodder Tosser in the side because of reach. And by reach, I mean just damage to close out the game. But you have to assemble a critical mass of creatures, and if your opponent's playing a removal-heavy list, and they can just, 1-for-1 all your guys and then play anything, you're done. Because I have not yet... And I guess the Squirrel technically fills this role, but I've not really yet seen any way to draw a bunch of cards in green or white in this format. It's possible that I've entirely overlooked how I'm supposed to do that. And I know that green and white generally do not draw a lot of cards, but... okay, so... Karth the Lion If we had one of the Planeswalkers from this set, I would definitely try splashing. But I'm going to take Scurry Oak. It makes tokens, it evolves, we have a bunch of creatures which can trigger its evolution. I guess if I was taking anything else from this pack, it might be Bone Shards, because I'm probably splashing black just to enable the Ravenous Squirrel's ability. But yeah, let's take the Oak. Okay, Dermotaxi is definitely for the reanimation deck. I kind of like Terramorph. Terramorph makes splashing for the squirrel easier, as well as like getting to our top end, maybe reinforcing or casting a huge Ren's Run Hydra. Man, this would have been the second Kaleidoscorch, and there's an Unholy Heat in the same pack, so whoever's in red's going to be pretty happy. This is also like the second or third Bone Shredder I've seen, so maybe I'm drafting the wrong color scheme. But I am going to take Terramorph. Okay, Squirrel Sovereign does give us a little bit more reason to try and lean into the squirrels. I think it's better than a Deepwood Denizen number 2. So if we can get a couple of Drey Keepers now, I'd be pretty happy about it. Otherwise, it's also just a bear, which isn't bad. There's another Ren's Run Hydra, which I think I will take because we do not have anything to enable Affinity like at all for Sojourner's Companion. And while Deepwood Denizen potentially is good, I think Ren's Run Hydra, the uncommon, is going to be better for us. Yeah, I kind of regret not taking those Drey Keepers and going green-black, because we could have taken almost all of these green picks and just avoided the Lens Flares, I guess. I suppose I could still do that, but I'm out 2 Drey Keepers because of it. Okay, Soul Snare is pretty good removal. Combine Chrysalis is an excellent way to upgrade your tokens. Break Ties is a good combat trick. And then there's Flourishing Strike, which is an excellent combat trick. I think I have to take Soul Snare. I don't want to go deeper into white for reasons that I was kind of working on as I was looking at the camera. Or just rambling to the camera, I mean. But I don't think I'm going to be splashing blue at all. I just don't think there's enough there, because I haven't seen many blue cards at all. And while I could take Flourishing Strike and try and stay mostly green, I think Soul Snare is just so much stronger that I gotta do it. Okay, I will take... Oh man, there's a Territorial Kavu. This card is really strong. Problem is, I don't know that I can splash it off of anything. I have Terramorph, but like I have no other fixing. I could take something like Rift Sower if it comes back around, but I think that's just worse than taking the Scrapling. Because like we have stuff that triggers off of just receiving 1/1 counters, right? And Territorial Kavu is in a color that we currently have no reason to be in. Even though there's an Unholy Heat, and that card is insane, it's not coming around. So I'm going to take the Scrapling. I could have taken the Rift Sower for fixing, but I really think that we're green with maybe a light splash into white and maybe a light splash into black. Alright, there's Magus of the Bridge, which would be completely unplayable for us. So I'm going to take Flourishing Strike because this card's great. Alright, there is a Captured by Lagax, Blacksmith Skill, and Foundation Breaker. Foundation Breaker is probably the best naturalize in the set, but we need more hard creature removal. Probably because we're not playing these Lens Flares. And Captured by Lagax kind of fills that. It also is another way to put 1/1 counters on stuff. So like we can make Scurry Oak bigger, get more squirrels. We can give things trample if we have Dusk Shellcrawler. We can just make our proliferates off of Urban Daggertooth better. I would not mind a couple of Smell Fears. I think those would be great. I mean, I could take the Underworld Cookbook and then just cash in anything I don't want into foods, which would make the squirrel bigger. But I'll take Karth, put it in the sideboard. I am technically in green, and I'm debating about splashing black. Wow. Okay. So, nobody is in red. I mean, I guess I kind of imagined from Territorial Kavu going all the way around. Do I take Unholy Heat or Kaleidoscorch? I think I take Kaleidoscorch, because I'm not playing Glimmer Baron. So we're going to see if we can't get maybe some red cards. If we can justify playing red. Wow, no one's in like the red-blue Delirium or the 5-color deck. Take another Bottle Golems. I guess Crypt Keeper is the most playable card here. I could take Vectis Gloves because we do have a lot of creatures, but I'm going to take the Gloves. We'll probably see another Crypt Keeper. He says immediately getting another pack with Gloves. I don't think I'd ever play more than 1 Bottle Golems, but I'm also never playing more than 1 Vectis Gloves. I will take the Fog and Floodhound. Alright. Okay, so in this pack, there's a Sanctifier and Vec. There's another Urban Daggertooth, and a Prismatic Ending. Sanctifier Envec is not playable in most decks. You have to be very, very heavy white, which I don't think a lot of people generally are. I will take Prismatic Ending. We have enough playables. Like, I have 23 playable cards here, technically. That if I start cutting Lens Flares, I can really focus on picking Fixing, unless there's cards that really upgrade our deck, which Prismatic Ending is one of. Suspend. Let's see. Foil Blacksmith skill. There's a Batterbone. I really like Batterbone. Batterbone is very, very strong. And I think Abiding Grace can be. Like, Abiding Grace plus Mere Scrappling is actually a combo, and it's not a bad one. I don't think it's better than the equipment, though, so I'm going to take the equipment. Thrasta Tempest's Roar. The spell costs 3 less for each other spell you've cast this turn. Trample, haste, trample over planeswalkers, and it has hexproof as long as it enters the battlefield this turn. Well, I was going to take Herd Baloth because that's so clearly the card for us, and we have much more 1/1 counter shenanigans than the last time I took this card. But I'm not going to not take a Mythic Dinosaur. You can't tell me I can't take Thrasta, so I'm taking Thrasta. Okay. We're taking the Dusk Shellcrawler. It's a fantastic card for this deck. There's another Herd Baloth, although I'm a little sad to pass up Bannerhide Crew Shock. This is an amazing payoff, and we do have a lot of 1/1 counter shenanigans. Hopefully either the Mere Scrappling or the Crew Shock or the Blacksmith skill comes around. Squirrel Mob. I don't think Squirrel Mob is all that great in this deck. Well, we do have Scurry Oak, and we do have Ravenous Squirrel, and we do have Squirrel Sovereign. We do not have that many actual squirrels. So I think what we do is take Thornglint Bridge, because it's a double on-color dual land for us. That also makes Lens Flare a little bit more playable. I've been getting spam calls. So many today. I don't know why. Alright, well, I'm probably not playing Kaleidoscorch. That was a short-lived dream. Probably not playing Lens Flares, and I'm probably playing only 1 Bottle Golems, if I'm playing any at all. Hunting Pack, there's a Mouser, there's a Draykeeper. I was like, oh yeah, we don't have enough squirrels. I could take it, we could play squirrels. I still have no black fixing, though. So I think the best pick for us is the Mouser. And I probably should have taken that card out of the initial pack that I had. But I was really concerned that I was going to end up in the red-white deck, which I like to draft a lot because I think it's powerful. But for those of you that are still watching my Modern Horizons 2 draft videos, I'm assuming you're kind of getting tired of me playing that. We'll take the Mouser, of course. Abundant Harvest or Knighted Mirror, I think, are our picks here. Knighted Mirror is a good payoff. But Abundant Harvest also helps enable Thrasta and get through our deck a little bit better. One of the things I was complaining about was not being able to draw enough cards, and Abundant Harvest kind of helps. It's a cantrip, if you want to think about it like that. Yeah, we'll take the Abundant Harvest. Urban Daggertooth coming around is great. Another Blacksmith skill is great. Jade Avenger's not a bad creature, really at all, but I think I want 2 Blacksmith skills in this deck, because I want to be able to blank removal. Power Depot? I don't like Power Depot, but I think it's going in the sideboard. Galvanic Relay or Fodder Tosser. I'll take another Fodder Tosser. 3rd Blacksmith skill, you got it. Strike It Rich, sideboard, and a Hunting Pack. I probably could have had a really sick Storm deck. I just don't know how to draft that, because I saw some Anarchomancers, and I saw Galvanic Relay, and... Okay, so let's build a deck here. Group creatures separately. I think playing Thrasta is almost certainly incorrect. Like, as much as I was like, I'm taking the Mythic Dinosaur. I mean, like, the card is probably not actually that good. It's going to be really hard to make this cost anything less than 12. And we only have 1 Suspend card because I didn't take the Rift Sower I saw. I think I'm still going to play it, though. Squirrel Sovereign, I think, is probably our worst creature. It's just a bear. We do have a couple of squirrels, and, like, if we get a big Scurry Oak situation, potentially it could be huge. Vectis Gloves, I think, are really bad, unless my opponent is playing a bunch of Artifact Duels, at which point I need to remember to bring them in, because the last time I drafted them, I was like, I need to bring those in if my opponent has a lot of stuff, and then didn't when they did. I'm going to drop a Blacksmith skill. I kind of like the idea of running 2, especially because we don't have that much hard removal. Okay, yeah, I need to cut the Squirrel Sovereign. We'll see how many squirrels this deck ends up making, but I suspect we probably should not be playing it. Then I should cut probably a non-creature spell. What is my worst non-creature spell? I don't want it to be Blacksmith Skill, but it might be. So if I can cut a creature spell and a non-creature spell here, I think we'll be quite good. My worst creature is probably Sanctuary Raptor. And then, well, besides Throsta, but we've already talked about that. And then my worst non-creature spell, Batterbone's kind of a creature. My worst non-creature spell is... I don't think it's Terramorph, because I am splashing here. I need at least one swamp in the deck for this Ravenous Squirrel, and it does help cast Throsta a little bit. Soul Snare is really defensive, but it's also a really strong effect. Alright, we're going to cut a Blacksmith Skill. I don't want to do that, but I'm gonna. So we'll add our Thornglint Bridge and see what this recommends for lands. So we have 4 white sources to cast 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 white spells, and the rest of it is green. I think I'm going to add 1 more plains, because we don't really have that much fixing. We only have Terramorph, and that's in the 4-drop slot. We can survive without getting green mana, just harder. Alright, well I think we've got ourselves a deck, and I will see you guys in round 1. Alrighty. Welcome to round 1, everybody. I went back and reviewed the footage for the draft, and I have to say that I'm very happy that I fixed whatever the audio problem was after getting set back up that I didn't notice for the other video that I made. We are going to keep this hand, even though we really only have 1 playable. Okay, never mind. We have 2 playables, and that's good. Pass the turn. What plays an island, so kind of expecting a counter spell here. Alright, they basic land cycle mental journey. Okay. They get a swamp. Duskshell Crawler enters battlefield, puts a 1/1 counter on itself. Pass the turn. Okay, Put a plays a swamp. So they're playing the, I guess, self-discard deck, question mark. Go to combat. Attack for 1. There's no universe our opponent blocks here, but we still have to give them the option. Alright, let's go ahead and crack open this Ethereum Spinner. Pass the turn. This does let us leave up Blacksmith Skill, though I'm not sure I would use it to protect this creature at the moment. Okay, Put a plays an island and passes. Man, my face looks really different today, and I don't know what it is. But I like, just noticed. Play a forest, go to combat, and let's go ahead and attack for 1. Now I could cast Terramorph here, or I could cast Daggertooth, but we're going to play the Daggertooth because it builds the board the most. Okay, opponent casts a Dihada's Ploy, so they draw 2 cards, then discard a card, then gain 1 life. Man, wish I was as jacked as Dakon. Could you believe that? Look at his arms. Alright, opponent discards an island. Sorry, everybody. I think I just peeked the mic. Alright, opponent plays a Burdened Aerialist. Yep. Then plays an island and a Cabal Initiate. Sure. So, pass the turn. We untap. We draw Throsta. Play a forest. Let's see. So if I cast Terramorph this turn, I can set up to play a huge Throsta next turn. Yeah, let's do it. Let's go get a... Yeah, let's get a Plains. Go to combat. Attack with everybody. Okay, opponent blocks. I'm going to use Blacksmith Skill here. Okay, we make the Duskshell Crawler bigger. Okay, that costs 6. So we should be able to cast Throsta next turn. Hopefully us using our combat trick. Okay. I was going to say it encourages our opponent to use removal or tap out, but we untap. Terramorph coming off suspend. We cast it. Let's get a Plains. And we draw Herd Baloth. So this costs 9. So we can Duskshell Crawler as like a tiny ritual. Put a counter on the Daggertooth. Then this costs 6, so we can play it. Go to combat. Swing for the fences. Who thought Throsta was bad? Who thought it was bad, this deck? Get that guy out of here. We're never going to cast it, but it's sick. Turns out it's just sick. Opponent is reevaluating their life choices. Opponent no blocks? Or are they just going to 4? Alright. Pass the turn. Opponent goes to combat, attacks us for 3. No blocks. They have to have like, Dam and an ability to get another treasure and overload, I think. Are there any other Wraths in this format? That's the one that jumps quickest to mind. Nervinal's Disc would be too slow unless they could untap it somehow. I mean, I guess they could just have like 2 kill spells. 6 mana, black, white, and blue. Did they tap incorrectly? Discard Dihada's Ploy for an additional black. It's big. Upheaval. Alright, well that does kind of reset the clock a little bit. Then opponent replays Cabal Initiate. So, play a bridge. It's our best play. Opponent's still in this game, though. So we're going to discard a few lands, I think. We have 12 cards in hand. I mean, discarding Throsta is probably the play, but why would I do that? Let's get rid of Herd Baloth. Alright. Opponent plays a Swamp, gets in for 3. They gain life. Man, if I lose this game, it's going to be impressive. I draw Mere Scrappling. Well, I'm a little upset that I discarded Herd Baloth now, but... Play Dusk Shellcrawler, have it pump itself. Pass the turn. At least we can block that Initiate for the time being. Oh, they didn't give it lifelink. Okay, they play Burdened Aerialist. Then they pass. We untap. We draw another Daggertooth. Play a Forest. Play a Scrappling. Pass the turn. I could have maybe saved that to try and set up for Big Throsta. I just not 100% sure that was the play. I think keeping Herd Baloth and getting rid of Throsta was probably what I should have done. I got blinded by a little bit of greed. This opponent is going to give the Aerialist flying and presumably play the Scourge Familiar. Okay. So then they're going to hit us for 3 in the air. We take it. Untap. We draw Captured by Legox. Play a Forest. Play Daggertooth. Pass the turn. So we're going to have to capture next turn. I kind of wanted to this turn, but I'm hoping my opponent gets greedy. Swings with the Scourge Familiar and Burdened Aerialist without a real backup. Okay, that's bad. Actually, if they swing with those 2 creatures, now Captured by Legox is lethal. Okay, they're just going to hit us for 3. Okay, we untap. We draw Ravenous Squirrel. So, play a Plains. Let's see. Alright, hang on a minute. Alright, so I think the play is to play Ravenous Squirrel. Then we're going to capture the Cabal Initiate because it can give lifelink. We need to stop our opponent from gaining life. So we're going to increase the power of the Dusk Shellcrawler and the Ravenous Squirrel. Then go to combat. Attack here and here. If they block the Scrappling, we just make the Crawler bigger. Actually, I needed to put that counter on the Scrappling to force them to block. If they have 2 extra damage... You know what? It's better to trade. So we're going to trade. Because now we have 2 lethal creatures, and my opponent only has 1 blocker. Yeah, I should not have kept this Throsta. That was a mistake. That was a very greedy mistake. Okay, so opponent is going to flashback Dihada's Ploy. This gives them 2 life. Actually, if they cast both Dihada's Ploys, maybe sacking was better, but not sure by how much. We are taking at least 3 this turn. Okay. Opponent plays an island. So then they're going to flashback their other, or jumpstart their other Dihada's Ploy. I think to get out of lethal range is the plan here. This would be the most optimal time to do it, unless they have removal that would change the combat math more in their favor. I guess they could have ditched a bunch of cards out of their hand and then just gained a bunch of life and raced. Though that plays like if we had another removal spell that could hit that creature, that would be a huge problem for them. I mean, I'd like to draw a Flourishing Strike. Okay, we get a Forest. So we definitely go to combat and attack. Opponent can trade with the Familiar to kill the Squirrel, and they should, because if they don't, they die. So opponent goes to 1. Oh, they gain life, okay. So they stay at 4, but they are now completely hellbent. So we play Urban Daggertooth, and we play a Forest. Daggertooth does not have Trample, but my opponent can only Jumpstart now, I think. Oh, they unearth Archfiend of Sorrows. That does kill us. I did not see my opponent discarded that. Their graveyard was too big. Okay. Well, we almost beat them after an upheaval. I think I took a slightly incorrect line there. Hopefully I don't make that mistake again. Blacksmith skill strikes me as more important. Soul Snare is also very, very strong. I think Prismatic Ending here is bad because we really only have 3 colors at best. 4 if we have our single treasure. Alright, run it back for game 3. Alright, I would like to play first. Actually, is this game 2? I think this is game 2. This hand is not good. This hand is better. Not amazing, but better. I will keep. I'm going to put back, I think, the Daggertooth. If I put back a land, I'm going to really regret it. Play a Forest, pass the turn. The Renzron Hydra is also somewhat questionable, but it has reach, and gets bigger no matter what lands we draw. The other card was double green. So play Dusk Shellcrawler, pump up the Dusk Shellcrawler, pass the turn. And Renzron Hydra at least will have Trample. Okay, opponent plays an island. They pass, we draw Soul Snare, play a Plains, go to combat, hit them for 1. Opponent goes to 19. Play out Soul Snare, pass the turn. Opponent plays an island, plays Ethereum Spinner. Okay, that is a little bit of an issue. We untap. We draw another Ren's Run Hydra, so we can't reinforce. Go to combat. Attack for 1. I don't think I can leave up Soul Snare and Blacksmith skill this turn. I think I need to make as big of a Hydra as I can right now. Pass the turn. I have a delivery arriving in 10 minutes that I have to actually step away from the computer from, so I'm just going to get as far into this game as I can. Alright, go to combat. Attack, attack. Opponent no blocks. I could reinforce. I don't think I'm going to do that, though. Okay, I think we're just going to pass. Okay, opponent plays a Burdened Aerialist. They now have Upheaval mana. Opponent goes to combat, attacks us for 1. We will not be blocking. Go to 19. So I'm going to reinforce onto the Beetle. Untap. We draw. Mere Scrappling. Play the Scrappling. Go to combat. Yeah, I think maybe I needed to reinforce to actually get the combat math to be favorable. Okay, opponent is going to double block. This is fine. So we Blacksmith skill. Gets +2/+2 if it's an artifact creature. Okay, so we don't need to pump there. No reason to sack Scrappling yet, I don't think. Okay, they discard Dihada's Ploy to give it indestructible and tap it. We kill the Burdened Aerialist, deal 1 damage to them and 4 damage from the Bark Shell, or Dusk Shell Beetle. Pass the turn. Our opponent could Upheaval and probably end up in a better place. Okay, they have Discerning Taste. So they're going to gain life equal to the largest creature they put back into the grave. Vile Entomber, so they gain 3, or 2, actually. Opponent passes. We untap. We draw. Forest. Go to combat. Attack with everybody. We're kind of just flunging at this point. Move the counter here. I'm not going to trade for a Thopter that they got for literally for free. It does make individual removal they have better, though. Okay, they're going to recalibrate, bouncing the Dusk Shell Beetle. That removes a lot of our damage. When it goes to 7, so play a Forest, replay the Crawler, and we'll have the Crawler pump itself. Actually, at this point, it might be better to pump the Hydra. I think it is. Okay, pass the turn. I have to go upstairs in 5 minutes. I really hate deliveries because they're like, yeah, we'll come anytime between 7 in the morning and 11 o'clock at night. It's just like, you know, that really helps me plan for it. Thank you. Alright, we untap, we draw Forest, play a Forest, go to combat. I should have held that in hand. I think we are going to attack. My opponent could like block with the Initiate and Familiar, and they could ditch a card and trade. Yeah, they ditch Archfiend of Sorrows, and I think that's actually going to be game. I'm not sure we can beat that Archfiend. We hit our opponent down to 6, pass the turn. They draw. I'm trying to think of what we could actually use to win here, and it might be Throsta. They go to combat. They attack for 1 in the air. Soul Snare basically becoming a moat here. There's one reason why this card is so good. Okay, we untap. Draw Plains. Pass the turn. Opponent untaps, they draw a card. They hit us for 1. No blocks. We untap. Kind of flooding. Pass the turn. Opponent flashes back Tihada's Ploy, ditching a swamp. So this is definitely where our deck does not accelerate at all. Yeah, I think not reinforcing that one turn was a big deal, because then we wouldn't have had to blacksmith skill on any blocks. We could have saved it for actual removal. Now my opponent has a pretty fantastic discard outlet. Crack Open hits Ethereum Spinner, and I am going to cast it for that. I don't want them gaining additional value as long as I can prevent it. Pass the turn. Opponent casts another Dihada's Ploy, ditching an Ornithopter of Paradise. They're going to amass. They untap, they draw, they go to combat, they attack for 6. While I can block here, I would lose the Beetle if I did, and that would turn on an Edict, so no blocks. I'm going to sack Soul Snare to get rid of the Familiar. This game is basically over, so I think if I top deck another land, I'm just going to go ahead and concede so I can get this delivery handled, but opponent is going to basic land cycle World Weary, which lets them mass and make that bigger. They play a land. Then they pass. We untap. We draw a Daggertooth. Daggertooth doesn't really do anything either, because that is going to put us in the Abyss, and we're at a low life total relative to the size of that creature. So, alright, well, I'll see you guys in round 2. Alright, welcome back to round 2, everybody. Had a very frantic furniture moving, but, I mean, like, one of the desks I've assembled, you can probably see, is now I have an L shape and tons of extra real estate to work with. So that this desk is no longer anywhere near as cluttered makes me feel better about being down here. And this hand is not keepable. We're mulliganing. Like, maybe it would have worked, but I think I can actually make this hand work. I will keep. I'm going to put back... I'm going to go with Flourishing Strike. And the first thing we're going to do is Abundant Harvest for a land. Alright, we get a forest, and we skipped over a Dusk Shell Crawler. Pass the turn. Opponent plays a Goldmire Bridge tapped. We untap. We draw a Ravenous Squirrel, so play a Swamp, play a Squirrel, pass the turn. Opponent plays a Jade Avenger. We untap. We draw Ren's Run Hydra. Okay, so we drew Ren's Run Hydra. We're playing a Forest. I could reinforce 1, but I don't think that's good. I can play Ren's Run Hydra as a 2/2. I actually think we do play this as a 2/2. Pass the turn. We need to be building our board state. Opponent plays a Breathless Knight. I would like to draw planes and continue building our board. Another Ren's Run Hydra is not really what I was hoping for. But I'm not going to sack anything to that squirrel. We have 2 creatures with reach that can block that Breathless Knight. And given the opportunity to trade, I probably will. I could wait and take a single hit and then maybe get a surprise with the reinforce off the Crew Shock. They play a Sinister Starfish, so they're going to have some long-term top deck manipulation. We untap and draw Arcus Acolyte. Alright, pass the turn. I may actually have to sack one of these Hydras. If my opponent attacks or uses removal, I will probably cash in one of them to pump the squirrel and draw a card. Okay, opponent plays a Swamp. They got a 5-drop. It's a Draykeeper. That is a problem. Opponent goes to combat and passes. Well, untap. Oh man, if only we draw this 4th land. Pass the turn. Okay, opponent's going to Surveil. They're leaving it on top, which does not bode well for us. Opponent activates Draykeeper. They go to combat. They attack with the squirrels. So, double block a squirrel, let them order the blockers. Then we'll reinforce onto the first one. This lets us kill the squirrel without losing anything. Then we take 2. And my opponent plays a Clattering Augur. Okay, we untap. We draw Dusk Shell Crawler, which, while not fantastic, is a little better. So play Dusk Shell Crawler. It's at least something we can cast this turn. I'm going to put the counter on the Ravenous Squirrel. Pass the turn. We still really desperately need that 4th land, so we can start playing out our whole hand and start playing the white cards we have. They Vindicate our biggest Hydra, which is a problem. And they play a Mere Scrapling. And our opponent attacks. No blocks. We'll just take 4. Okay. Then they play a Nested Shambler. We untap. Draw Soul Snare. Oh my gosh. Sack this crawler. We gotta draw land. Come on. Alright. Alright, I'm gonna scoop. What is that? 7 draws? And no 4th land is pretty rough. I'm gonna bring in Vectis Gloves because my opponent does have artifact lands. I have a suspicion that we're probably going to need to be more offensive. Opponent does have flyers, so Flourishing Strike is going to matter. I think I'm going to drop Soul Snare. And, yeah, let's run it back like that. Alright, I'll play first. Once again, this hand is good if we draw white mana. We have an Abundant Harvest to find a land. I could potentially save Abundant Harvest to act as a Dark Ritual for Thrasta as well. But I think I kind of want to cast it as soon as possible. I'm going to keep this. So lead on Forest, Abundant Harvest for a land. We skip over a Mere Scrappling and we get a Forest. Opponent plays a Plains. We draw a Forest. Play a Plains. Pass the turn. Opponent plays a Forest into a Jade Avenger. We untap and draw Ren's Run Hydra. Play a Forest. Let's play Vectis Gloves. Pass the turn. Opponent plays Abiding Grace. Hits us for 2, and then they gain a life on their end step. We untap. Draw Captured by Legox. So, if I Terramorph for a Plains, I can reduce the cost of this next turn by 6, because Terramorph, then Arcbound Mouser. So this becomes a green, and 4, 6 mana total. So I'd have to play Ren's Run Hydra, but it would work, I think. Might have to play Ren's Run Hydra as a 1-drop. So Terramorph, get a Plains, pass the turn. Opponent basic land cycles a Landscaper Kolos, gets a Swamp, hits us for 2, then plays a Sinister Starfish, gaining a life. We untap, cast Terramorph, get a Plains. We draw Ren's Run Hydra. So this currently costs 9. Now it costs 6. And if I play a Ren's Run Hydra on 1, it costs 3. Alright, Thrasta. Go to combat. Hit them for 7. Okay. Opponent goes to 15. Pass the turn. They untap. They have a Vindicate. Oh, that kind of sucks. Alright, opponent passes. They gain a life. We untap. Draw a Forest. Play a Forest. We're going to capture the Jade Avenger, putting 1/1 counters on our board. Then we will equip Vectis Gloves. Go to combat. Do we just attack for 4? No, we'll attack with both. We'll give them the option to block. Okay. Opponent blocks the 2/2. Goes to 12. They surveil a Mere Scrappling into the grave. They basic land cycle World Weary, probably to get a second Swamp. Okay, second Forest. They play the Forest. Then they pass. They're getting back the Mere Scrappling. Okay. We untap. We draw Prismatic Ending. So let's Prismatic Ending the Starfish, because that stops them from, like, stacking up 1/1 counters onto a big defender. They surveil in response. They leave it on top. We go to combat. Attack and attack. Opponent puts a 1/1 counter on our Mouser. 7, 8, 9, 10. We can almost kill them with this Ren's Run Hydra, but let's wait. Not sure what that's about. I don't think there's any Fateful Hour cards in this format, is there? Okay, Yavimaya Elder. So opponent is going to get back the Scrappling as a blocker. We untap, draw a Thornglint Bridge, play Thornglint Bridge, go to combat, attack with both. Opponent blocks and chumps. I can either grow this Ren's Run Hydra to be big, or I can play a new one, but this one will die. Let's see if I can get my opponent to, like, sack the Scrappling to stop us from gaining life off of lifelink. Okay, that did not work. I think our best bet was still playing this as its own separate creature. So opponent gets a Swamp and a Forest. Interesting that they did not cycle it from play. Okay, pass the turn. Opponent untaps. They play a Forest into an Orchard Strider, which gives them 2 foods. Then they get back a 1/1. If we draw removal, we win, but we have to draw removal. Flourishing Strike is not technically removal, but it does let both of our guys survive. Nothing on board has flying. There is some concern that my opponent blocks the Mouser with the Strider, because I cannot Flourishing Strike to keep it alive. If I just attack with one creature, though, my opponent just chumps with a Mere Scrappling, so let's do it. Okay, opponent goes for the trade. So target creature gets +3/+3, and this ensures that the Strider dies, and we keep our guy. Okay, pass the turn, but forcing our opponent to play a creature every turn is not as demanding as it could be. Okay, opponent plays a Timeless Witness, picking up Vindicate. They Vindicate the Renzrun Hydra, they get back the Mere Scrappling. Man, maybe I should be playing... Oh, never mind. Liquid Metal Torque wouldn't... You can't target lands with it. We untap. We draw nothing of importance. Pass the turn. Opponent untaps. They play a Squirrel Mob. They play a Clattering Augur. Then they play another Jade Avenger. They're down to 4, but we just don't have any way to sneak this damage in. They sack the Scrappling to make the Jade Avenger bigger, so they can reanimate the Scrappling. Okay, we untap. We draw Daggertooth. Well, mercifully, it's not a land. Pass the turn. 7 mana. Opponent plays a Glorious Enforcer. Sacks the Scrappling to make it bigger. Yeah, unless we can draw some way to deal direct damage, I just don't think it's going to be worth it. Unfortunately, we've already used Flourishing Strike, which would be our removal of choice to get rid of that. But yep, second Daggertooth will not do it. And we will never catch back up to our opponent's life total. So unfortunately, we have to concede. And I will see you guys in round 3. Alright. I do like this hand, so I'm going to keep. Untap and draw a forest. Play a forest. I kind of just want to save up all of my 1-drops to play Throsta. We'll have a Storm turn. I don't know if that's good. It's probably not worth the tempo loss, but we are beyond winning any prizes, so I'm going to go for it. Play a forest. Yeah, I'll play a Renzrun Hydra on 1, because that will likely not be a part of the Storm turn. Opponent plays a tap land. Plays a Deepwood Denizen. We untap and draw plains. Play a forest. So I need to have 3 1-drops and 6 lands to play this in 1 turn. Pass the turn. We can wait till we have 5 and a land drop available because we can Abundant Harvest for a land. Opponent plays a Duskshell Crawler. They're going to pump the Denizen, which is going to give it trample. Then they play a Glimmerbairn. They do not attack. We untap. We draw a Duskshell Crawler. So play a Plains. Play Urban Daggertooth. Pass the turn. Opponent untaps. When it goes to combat and passes. We untap and draw Herd Baloth. Play Duskshell Crawler. 1/1 counter on the Daggertooth. Pass the turn. Opponent is going to draw an extra card using Deepwood Denizen. Okay. Pass back to our opponent. They play an island. We need to draw a land so we can play Herd Baloth, and then we will have the most enormous of turns. And it will have made this entire league worth it. No! What are you doing, opponent? You're not supposed to play cards. Alright, opponent attacks us for 5, we take 5. We untap, we draw a swamp. Okay. Play a swamp. Play Daggertooth. Pass the turn. Opponent untaps. So next turn we can Abundant Harvest for a land. Play Scrappling, play Mouser. What is this, just bounce the deck? Opponent attacks us for 5. Take 5, go to 10. Okay, we untap. We draw Renzrun Hydra. So, Abundant Harvest. Say land. No, it doesn't work! Oh, it doesn't work because we're playing exactly 1 tap land! Oh, I just wasted it! I'm so upset about this right now. Play Thornglint Bridge, play Daggertooth. Pass the turn. I'll have to play Renzrun Hydra for no value. Okay, opponent's going to draw a card. They untap. They hardcast a Soul of Migration. Then they play a Brainstone. Then they are attacking with Glimmerbairn. No blocks. Take 1, go to 9. Untap, we draw plains. So play a plains. Play Mouser. Play Scrappling. This costs 6. And I have 5, so if I play a 2-drop, this gets reduced by 3 to 3. So I can play Duskshell Crawler, putting a counter here. Then I can play Throsta. Then I can go to combat and attack with the... Oh no, I forgot Throsta has haste! Oh my god, I'm so bad at this game! Oh! Yep, that's right. I didn't want to attack with it. Your move, opponent.
Intimidation tactics. What are you gonna do? Nothing. That's right. Get out of here with your no blocking garbage. So horrible at this game. I deserve to go 0-3. Oh, it's so bad. Oh my gosh. I was like, we're gonna have the best turn ever. Now my opponent's just gonna completely nullify it. Okay. Orchard Strider, you got it. Uh-huh. You got it, opponent. You got it. Opponent's going to attack for 4. I mean, we can block a bird and mere scrappling onto the Hydra, and I'm kind of okay with that. Okay, we take 3, go to 6. Alright, we untap. We draw Bannerhide Crew Shock. Okay. Play Herd Baloth. Go to combat. Attack here and attack here. That's 12 damage. If my opponent blocks the Daggertooth, we're going to reinforce onto the Baloth. So we get an additional 4/4, then Proliferate will give us a 4/4. Opponent sacks a token, then sacks a token. And they are going to block Throsta and block Throsta. I think it's more important to kill the Orchard Strider. This is a 7/7. I could make it a 9/9, but that doesn't even kill both creatures in front of it. So we'll hit our opponent for 5 and kill their Orchard Strider. Opponent goes to 10. We pass the turn. They're going to Brainstone. Okay. Opponent attacks. Or untaps, excuse me. Opponent goes to combat. Attacks with the Soul of Migration. So let's go ahead and reinforce onto the Hydra. Block. Opponent draws a card. And scoops. Oh, thank God. Oh, we did not earn that or deserve it at all. No adjustments, we'll just run it back. Okay, this hand is not keepable. We mulligan. This one can work. I do have to put back the Ren's Run Hydra, though. Also, holding up cards for a big Throsta turn, basically not worth it ever. We untap, draw Forest, lead on Mouser, pass the turn. So I think what we're going to do is take Dusk Shell Crawler and put a counter on the Mouser. Alright, we untap, draw Forest, play Crawler. Does my opponent have like a Subtlety or something? That would be concerning. Counter on the Mouser, go to combat. Attack for 2. Okay, opponent goes down to 18, they untap. They play a Plains. They're going to So Shiny the Mouser. Wow, what a jerk. So Abundant Harvest, and we are going to say non-land. Get a Ren's Run Hydra, play a Forest, pass the turn, no attacks. Opponent untaps. They play a Combine Chrysalis. We draw Bannerhide Crew Shock, which I think we're going to play just as a creature, because the Hydra we can continue to make bigger. We have nothing that putting counters on directly helps at the moment. Opponent untaps and scoops the match. We definitely didn't earn that one, but I hope you guys enjoyed this content. If you did, please leave a like, drop a comment, subscribe to the channel if you're so inclined, and remember you can follow me on Twitch. Same username over there as you find me on here. I stream Wednesdays at 6 p.m. Mountain Time, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, though the last few times have been earlier than that. And yeah, you're all wonderful human beings. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye! Hey, just wanted to give a shout out to my patrons for the month of July. You guys are awesome. I really appreciate your support. And if you want to have your guys' names show up in this list, there's a link to my Patreon in the description down below. Thank you all so much.